If you haven't seen Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2 and Thor 1, go and watch them. It's better for you. I mean, go and watch them so they become important and connected to the events. All Marvel World movies are connected to each other. You must connect to the events strongly and firmly. Modernity begins in 1944 in Norway. During World War II, it's between us. And we see that a Nazi army commander is searching for a cube called the Tesseract because it is a very powerful cube and they can make destructive weapons from it. At the end of the summary, he remains conflicted and uncertain. Later, the commander attacks a temple, kills the guards, and steals the Tesseract. After searching for it for a long time, we get to know this commander, whose name is Red Skull or the Red Genie. He says he is a follower. Hydra, a Nazi army organization, conducted research and produced unusual weapons. Red Skull remains its leader. We will see why he is the leader and understand the reasons behind it. His name is Red Skull. You will recognize the Red Skull now, not another red thing. Meanwhile, in New York, America, there's a scrawny but patriotic young man named Steve Rogers. He is a patriot who repeatedly tries to enlist in the American army but is rejected due to his weakness. Steve, a Syrian bear, is working on an army film in the cinema. Some kids like it, and the tormentors repeatedly return, mocking and taunting Steve. Despite their threats of prison and physical abuse, Steve defiantly stands his ground, telling them to shut up. You understand that I am this time, I want to remain a hero. And these things and the son of the observer will remain a hero. Not a hero, a real hero. Afterward, Steve's owner, Baki, a policeman, follows and beats the boys with Steve. They then attend a party before Baki travels again the next day. There is Howard Stark, and he is presenting one of Howard Stark's inventions. Is this what remains of Iron Man's father? And of course, I won't tell you that I won't speak. I won't tell you to go watch Iron Man's lab. I won't say that. They encounter Dr. Abraham, who is loved by the army. They approach him and ask if he wants to kill some Nazis.
He says yes, my brother, and asks if you've heard the question, telling you not to get upset with their souls.
He says he dislikes killing but wants to defend his country and offers to help him enlist in the army. The sword finally became a soldier, fulfilling his dream. His sorrow was greater than himself. Then we go to the headquarters of Hydra the Nazi, and we see Red Skull with Dr. Zola, who is responsible for the inventions there, and they are making weapons using the power of the Tesseract Cube. Back with the American army, we encounter Peggy Carter, their leader. Is it a hot American pie, or we get it from Natasha, not from Jean, nor from Peggy? And after that, Steve starts training, and we see the leader saying that he will make the trainees work hard, and the leader is conducting tests to see if he is fit. A fake bomb, and he sees their reaction and they all run away, with Steve who jumps on the bomb to protect his colleague. He visits Dr. Ibrahim at night, informing him of his selection to become a super soldier, saying, God willing, may God bless your choices. Among all the soldiers, I found no cowards. He remains the face of bravery. And these are our adventures, and we return to Hydra's headquarters again. We will see Red Skull, which is an expression of a red monster. You know why his name remained Red Skull, and we will know that this is the real face that remained like this because of the radiation of the experiments. And what is the news is an expression of a mask. Actually, in this time, there was a mask of this quality. And then Turn Me Around, Lemon. And we return to New York and we see Steve in a car with Peggy. And he doesn't know how to talk to her because he's not used to talking. Girls, Jude Bowie like this exactly. Any like me indeed. I am Jude Bowie very much on the idea. He informs her that it's the longest conversation he's had with a girl. My son, they would go to the place where she'd say a secret word to the shopkeeper or worker to distract them, and we'd discover a hidden laboratory behind the shop. Under the supervision of the American Army, Howard Stark, and Dr. Ibrahim, Steve enters a device to begin the super soldier experiment. He is injected with a specific substance, the source of the super soldier serum, and emerges from the device taller and more muscular. I need a device like this, and my belly will love it. And there would be one of the Nazi army among them. He detonates explosives, steals the super soldier serum used on Steve, and kills Dr. Ibrahim. It's a scandal, and he's the only one who knows how to make it. All that's left is the super soldier, and that's Steve Rogers, and Steve chases this man and catches him and hits him, and the last serum breaks down and the man falls to the ground and the man becomes one of his death capsules. Before the American army could celebrate him, he remained and responded like this, and we return here to the Nazi army. Red Skull is showing off the device that is made from the Tesseract's power, but Red Skull creates a leader with his own will and fights them because he wants to remain strong alone and stays with Hydra away from the army, and we see the power of the weapon. This guy is more than just a guy. He's a real deal, and we return to America and see that the army is still using Steve for mere propaganda. And like a cartoon character, he stands on stage and promotes the American army under the name Captain America. One day he learns that Bucky and other soldiers are being held captive by the Nazis. Steve decides to go and rescue them. He gets the group and Howard Stark flies them there, and Steve jumps from the plane. He infiltrates the Nazi base and frees them, and a small battle ensues between him and the Nazi army, where they witness the power of the Nazi weapons in action. Red Skull confronts Captain America, but they escape back to the American camps. Captain America returns with all the prisoners, then withdraws from the army and refuses to continue. He appears in the promotional shows again saying, "I'm not a dancing monkey, Dad," and Howard Stark makes Steve a shield from a material called vibranium. The vibranium! I don't know what these questions are, and will Tony Stark deal with them in the upcoming movies? No, I won't tell you. Go and watch. Just wait and watch. Subscribe and watch and watch. Howard informs Steve that the material, based on a concept from the film, is the world's strongest, surpassing steel in strength. Because I don't just see a guy telling you he's gonna make a superhero out of vibranium, but yeah, Dad, but it's not really there. This is you actually announcing yourself as Marvel. You've known vibranium and adamantium, okay? You're going to tell me this vibranium is still visible. Where is this adamantium? Where should I tell you? He tests the shield by hitting it with fire resembling light beams. He sits on the shield with his jeans halfway down. Steve and his group stand up with many tasks, and he becomes the hero of the American army and the soldier. The director, like Ibrahim, who yearned for the tube under his head, was once as excited as Captain America. And they left the Nazi army by the way they broke their line. The line? By the way they broke their line. The important thing is that there is a robot with the destructive power of the Nazi army, but Steve knows he is going to die and Bucky is going to make the line in an impressive scene. They captured Dr. Zola, obtained information from him, and launched another attack on the Nazi army, showing no mercy. But Steve catches him and takes him to inform Red Skull and starts torturing him and breaking him and extinguishing the cigarette under his foot. But Steve tells him, "I can bear all day on the idea and he will be killed, but he will let soldiers from the American army and there will be a battle, and Red Skull will flee on his plane." But Steve rides a car with Peggy Wart, and Steve wants to go inside the plane and he is coming to kiss her before he goes. To explain her love for him. Why is everyone kissing and I find myself sitting like her lover? Why is that? God, what's in it, Jadan? What's in it? Before a hero sacrifices himself or does something important, the heroine always kisses him. Since I haven't done anything important in my life, I've never experienced this. The key points are that he gains power from the kiss, enters the plane, and they battle, exchanging blows. Steve accidentally hits the shield on the controls. Red Skull grabs the controls, but they don't work. When Red Skull holds them, a door opens to space, and he gets sucked into it, revealing why the controls are so strong. Does it transport from place to place in the world, or is it not specifically in the controls? But we'll find out later, so keep following along. Steve attempts to return by plane, but if it malfunctions and crashes, he can't return to the city because his plane has a rocket that splits, not Jean or Natasha. So he calls Peggy, he has her number saved. Ordy's call, he had her number saved on his mobile, which honestly doesn't make sense in the plane. He's talking to her and tells her he loves her one last time and falls into the ocean. Peggy cries for him and we all cry for him. I cry for Peggy, not for Captain America. Captain America remains a symbol of heroism and sacrifice in the American street. Howard Stark will find the Tesseract. What will the Tesseract say to me? And who is Howard Stark to tell you, oh, who are you? Did you steal him on the details that remained? Who are you? You remain, you are what? Steve opens his eyes, but he is not on the surface of his land, only on his own surface. He finds himself in a hospital room with a soccer match playing on the radio. Surprisingly, he claims to have attended this match before. He feels disoriented and senses danger in the unfamiliar ward. Lasan, Hydra like a bull or something. Who made him angry? I'm tired of telling him to watch, but he won't listen. This time he senses danger, and Hydra, who gets angry for no reason, is the best. And Steve Scenes flips in himself. If you don't know who Thor is, go watch Thor's summary, as long as you didn't differentiate. He asks for forces, but Steve turns out to be Johnny Rogers in himself, or Steve Scenes who is inside him. I mean, God knows he is going to expose the guard, and he turns out to be Bilaki, that this power is a decor, and he escapes the place and finds himself in the future. He brings him Nick Fury, who is Nick Fury. See the summaries that are... You didn't go watch the summaries that you didn't know, and you know the important thing about you, Nick Fury. He claims he was frozen in snow for 70 years and they are now in 2016. He doesn't watch because he's out of his mind. After giving him his cane, he returns and says the world is in danger and they need his help, but the story ends there. Stay tuned for a movie summary tomorrow. God willing, after this video, the movie will be released and available for the rest of Friday. Set your alarm for early morning to catch it. Ensure you've watched the missed videos. I won't keep reminding you, it's a shame. Most importantly, Natasha, Tabgini, Tabhaja, and Bijiji are coming. I've made the booking. Natasha's arrival is crucial. Natasha is returning in the story's continuation, set 2 years after the events of the Dawn movie. And we'll see that Steve, who is Captain America, and that he continued to work in the S.H.I.E.L.D. organization, we are introduced to a character named Sam Wilson. And what remained of Steve's health, he understood the spirit by the spirit, and we see Steve going on a mission for S.H.I.E.L.D. with Natasha. Yes, Natasha is enlightened, and what does a person named Romulo mean to us? The mission involves the liberation of hostages, either crew members or specific individuals held captive on a ship. After a brief battle, Natasha continues the mission, taking unauthorized data. At Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division headquarters, Steve and Nick Fury inquire about the data, and Fury reveals that Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division is developing a weapon to counter any threat to Earth. Similar to the plot of the Avengers movie. If you didn't see it, I'll tell you, and the data that Natasha took will help them in their weapon project. Then Steve goes to a War Heroes museum that fought for America. He watches memories of his friend Bucky, feels sad for him, and when they think, he watches memories of his girlfriend. Beggy, come here to Beggy, and he goes home. We'll see him talking to someone, not knowing that this person will remain Beggy until he can't. Oh, Niall. And he gets upset. Niall, no, finish your talk like you, Beggy. The important thing is that he talks to her every now and then. He gets the memory and tells her, who are you, my son? Whose son? What? Mama? I was just asking about you a while ago, and we'll see afterwards. Nick Fury is trying to open the data. The network was struggling, but it wasn't opening, so he goes to the senior official of Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement, and Logistics Division and asks him to delay the project a bit. Then he gets in his car, and we see that there's an assassination attempt on him by people like the police who are determined to kill him, but his car is somewhat fortified. And a big action scene happens and they chase him. Suddenly, we find a mysterious person trying to kill Nick Fury, but Nick Fury manages to escape. We see Steve returning home and hears a noise in his apartment. He enters cautiously, only to find that it's Nick Fury, and Nick Fury is trying to give him a message. Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division has been compromised, understand it's been compromised, and an attack occurs on Steve's apartment. Suddenly, Nick Fury gets shot, but Steve is there. The weapon's data, and he tells him not to trust anyone. And he sees the person who made the attack and chases him, and we see that he is very fast and tries to hit him with the shield, but he catches the shield, and we see that he has many knives, and he runs away, and we see Nick Fury in the hospital, and his condition is very difficult, but he separates life and dies, God bless him, and we see. Afterwards, Steve and Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division were involved. The president tried to ask Steve why, but it's unclear if Nick Fury told him before he died. Steve tells him, I swear, son, I don't know, I felt my soul, I asked him. He stops his speech, and Captain America gets into the elevator, and he's leaving, and he's going in with the elevator. Romulo, who is not associated with Romel, recently participated in the mission with a few soldiers. Suddenly, one pulls out his weapon and tries to hit Steve, and Steve thwarts the assassination attempt. But by God's will, he manages to fight them all off, stopping the assailant in his tracks, leaving him stunned and disarmed. This scene is very intense, the fight scene is very intense, and a plane is trying to kill him, but he escapes, and Steve is considered a criminal and wanted by the law. Do you understand why? And after that, he goes to Natasha and reassures her. Of course, Natasha is very trustworthy. They went to his place to open this flash drive that has the data, and there are a few agents from S.H.I.E.L.D. in the place. So they pretend that they are engaged or something, and they kiss each other. Oh, poor Steve. And he tells her that the last time he was in his 40s with Peggy, They go to the weapons base they learned about through the flash drive, and when they arrive, they realize that the one controlling all this remains like an artificial intelligence. Because Dr. Zola, who was working with Hydra, won't tell you, go watch the summaries, I'm done. They inform them that Hydra is still active within Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division, operating a cannon attempting to eliminate them, but fortunately Steve and Natasha manage to escape. And we see the head of Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division in his house with the Winter Soldier who killed Nick Fury, or the Super Soldier, and we find out his name is Bucky Barnes, or the Winter Soldier. Steve and Natasha go to their friend because they trust him, and they return there and get kidnapped. An agent from Strategic Homeland Intervention, Enforcement and Logistics Division, who is actually a follower of Hydra, and we see Sam's weapon, which is wings, and his nickname remains. Falcon, the agent, says to her to speak, so they throw him off the building. Then Sam comes flying and catches him. He does his maneuvers under him and comes out with him again. And they tell him everything was fine until you came down to the field. And we know that the shield, which is a Hydra breach, will kill anyone who poses a threat to them and poses a threat to their weapons project, and then they get in the car, but he catches up with them. Winter Soldier attacks, displaying his terrifying power. He confronts Captain America and his mask falls off. And we see that this Winter Soldier remains the old friend of Captain America. In the previous scene, Steve informs Natasha and Sam that Bucky is from the 1940s. Hydra took him, wiped his memory, and experimented on him, turning him into their weapon. They confront an agent who leads them to Nick Fury, who is still alive. They tell Fury their plan and proceed with it. The question remains, will they succeed, and what will Captain America do? In the S.H.I.E.L.D. universe, Michael and all the employees say that S.H.I.E.L.D. is infiltrated, and the person next to you could be a Hydra agent and you wouldn't know. It's really normal, and they tell them everything. They attempted to assassinate him and Nick Fury, resulting in a shootout. Natasha, wounded, confronted and shot the president. Nick Fury then arrived, triggering a fire. But they launched the project for weapons of mass destruction. It happens. A battle and Steve gets on one of the planes, and with him a flash that can stop all the weapons, and Winter Soldier gets on the plane and comes to him and they have a battle. Steve reminisces about their past friendship while Falcon confronts an unknown adversary above. I don't know his mother's name. And eventually Ban, who can't pronounce his mother's name, falls under the building and shines on him, and Sam follows him with a plane, and Steve knows how to stop the planes, and Steve and Bucky are in confrontation, and despite his attempts to think about it until Steve learns the shield and says, "You're my friend, I'm not fighting you, is it that much?" He said no, so Bucky says, "You're my mission," and he prefers to hit his mother, but the part that was Steve falls from the plane and Steve drowns in the water, but we see that Bucky followed him and pulled him out of the water and left and walked away. Nick Fury. He killed the president of Hydra and changed his identity. He goes to Europe after they thought he was dead, and then we see Bucky going to the museum and seeing himself there and reading about himself, and we see Steve as well. One of Hydra's scientists has Loki's scepter, which was with him in the Avengers movie. He has a son, and his daughter has extraordinary abilities. The son is very fast, and the daughter can move objects from a distance. What's their story? All of this we will know. All of this we will know in the next episode on Hadotha channel before sleep. The event begins in the year 1991 in one of the headquarters of Hydra, and we'll see that they are thawing Bucky and using a book with specific words that when he hears them, he goes into a trance and he executes any orders. They say this is important, he will go, and he will carry out an assassination mission for one of the people we will recognize later, and he will take something from his victim. Hydra will help in making the rest of the super soldiers who are similar to Bucky. And we return to the present time in Lagos, Nigeria, and the Avengers are carrying out a mission to capture the Crossbones, who, of course, survived from the events of the previous part. Not trying to spoil you if you haven't watched the previous parts, you should have caught up on the subject by now. Stay and enjoy with me. First of all, do you understand you in one of the movies and the quarter of the mission happens between them, and what happens between Crossbones, a few skirmishes, and Captain America fights with him a little. Before his capture, he detonated explosives while surrounded by civilians. It's not good that they hurt people, but Wanda tried to help, unfortunately without success. He blew himself up in the sky like a C4, but God forbid, he exploded in the building like this, understanding and killing all the people in it, and this building. She was following a state that belongs to Wakanda, which is a non-existent state in the real world. It is in the Marvel world only. And with your permission, Tony Stark, who usually showcases such advanced technology, he presents his sophisticated invention to your Uncle Tony Stark, who usually showcases such advanced technology. And when his conference is over and he is at the elevator, a unit stops and Matt dies in the building explosion. She blames him, saying they are not heroes but the reason her son died. All these words flip his conscience, making him feel guilty as his conscience draws nearer, not flipping. Then the foreign minister gathered the Avengers and told them that they are supposed to abide by an agreement called the Sokovia Accords, which stipulates that the Avengers should be under the control of the state, because every time they fight, many people suffer and die because of them. And the Avengers split into two teams, a team that agrees with the agreement and a team that does not agree. Then we go to Wade in his house, and a person named Zemo visits him, and we understand that the owner of this house is one of the former Hydra employees, and Zemo kills him and takes from him the book that contains the words that control the remaining mind of Hydra's god. In 1991, we attend a conference held by the state of Wakanda, which he is present at. This is the king of Wakanda. Who is the king of Wakanda? Wakanda, this is T'Chaka, and his son T'Challa is the heir who will remain king after him. My oath is amazing, I swear to God. I don't know where this oath came from. Neither Ahmed, nor Mohammed, nor Umar, nor Hussein. None of them have this oath like T'Chaka and T'Challa. But what about a terrorist bombing operation? Did you see a terrorist bombing operation in a comic book and the king dies in it? And it comes out in the news that the person who was the cause of the explosion was Becky. What would you do? Becky, as a troublemaker, why are you still here and what do you want? He is indeed Becky. shaky. In Bucharest, he meets Captain America and tells him that he knows he didn't do anything, and at the same time, special forces enter the building to bring Bakey from his mother's lap, but he escapes and leaves a strange person behind him. And the one named Black Panther, he gets what's between Black Panther and Captain America and the rest of the sites until he catches them and discovers that this Black Panther is essentially T'Challa. And the heir of Wakanda, his father is Loketi. He is considered the king after his father's death. But why is he still so strong? Okay. And the suit he's wearing, I'm going to know all about it soon. In summary, Black Panther, who is also coming soon, so stay tuned, follow and subscribe, and ring the bell for important notifications. After they are defeated, you discover that your Uncle Zemo has turned against the Doctor's organization, which is basically supposed to be the Doctor achieving with Bucky. And here he still says to her the phrase that was in the book. And he washes his brain and Bucky goes crazy and hits everyone. No one can control him until he comes to the surface and steals a plane. But my beloved Captain America tries to stop him until a plane crashes into the water. But Steve takes Bucky and hides him in a place and prefers to keep him there so no one finds him. And after a while, we find Bucky talking very normally. But Uncle Steve is still suspicious of Bucky to prove to him that he is fine and there is nothing wrong with him. Hey Sarah, it's me Bucky, your son. We were together. No, there is still time in the cache, yes, but he tells him everything that happened and he tells him that there is no Winter Soldier anymore. No, they were a group and they tried to turn against Hydra and freeze them, and there are many of them frozen in time. Then your Uncle Tony Stark decides, as long as Steve is not willing to give up, I have to bring it by force. Peter Parker decided to join a team and go to a small country. The input text is incomplete and does not make sense. I cannot rephrase or shorten it without additional context or clarification. He remains Spider-Man, but of course Spider-Man, these cultured people like the ordinary Egyptian people mean, and those who I am also one of them say Spider-Man. So Baidar. And at the same time, this is Captain America freezing. You are freezing what? And at the same time, this is Captain America freezing. And another one, and the one who remains you, man. And the one we made his old video mean like this. But we made it a summary. I mean, go watch it. It was a copyright for him. They will strike me. But we do not have... Captain America's team clashes with Tony Stark's team, which includes War Machine, Black Widow, and Black Panther. With two blacks in the team, Vision and War Machine, and Captain America's team consists of Sam Falcon, Ant-Man and Wanda and Hulk. What remains is Wanda saying, where did Wanda come from? Wanda? She was imprisoned with your Uncle Vision in a place? She's not imprisoned. I mean, your Uncle Tony Stark had put her in this place so she wouldn't do anything rash, and so he and your uncle would protect her. Your Uncle Quicksilver would go and free her from this place. And all these people stay with them. Your Uncle Bucky and Vision improve their relationship. A big confrontation ended with your uncles Captain America and Bucky running away. Your Uncle Hawkeye threatened to hit you with an arrow if you didn't shut up. Your Uncle Black Panther was also there, taken by surprise, but stayed and said he will bring them back. But your Aunt Natasha follows them, so they escape like this. I am doing what and leaving them to escape by plane, and with this she stayed. We were worried about them. Since she helped Captain America and Bucky, he tries to catch up with the plane that has Captain America and Bucky in it, but your Uncle Vision is behind with the sniper. Your uncle. Tony Stark informs him that he's fighting Falcon. When the substitute joins the fight, he quickly loses and is imprisoned after falling to the ground. Captain America's team is imprisoned in seclusion. Tony Stark discovers that Bucky is innocent, and Zemo, who remains in Sofia, is responsible for the explosion. The one who killed the king, so he goes to prison and finds out where Captain America is, and he goes to help them and becomes the observer of everything that happens and goes behind them. But when he goes and hears the voice of Zemo, who is Zemo, he speaks and says that he killed the Winter Soldier. They're all still frozen and he brought them here for a purpose, and here he is playing a video. The key point is that he has a chip in his head from 1991, and when he sees Tony Stark, he realizes that Tony's parents were killed by the same people. Tony's uncle is present, and Tony wants to investigate further despite understanding the situation. Meanwhile, Captain America realizes the man is innocent and was acting involuntarily under someone else's control. A confrontation erupts between them, with each side throwing punches. Uncle Bucky and Uncle Captain America side with Tony Stark. This clash concludes with Tony Stark cutting off Bucky's arm. His arm is not the real arm, but his steel arm, and Captain America destroys his replacement arm. Iron Man doesn't want to kill him, and then Iron Man says that the arm you have remains my father's arm and you don't deserve it, and he leaves the arm remains if you allow it, and the rest of the arm remains my father's thing, and I am free in it for observation. Then we see his reaction after hearing all this, and he goes to Zemo, but he doesn't kill him and tells him that he won't act like them and that he will let go of the anger and revenge. They dominate him. Uncle Don and we finish. Uncle from his mother and Uncle Asimo is bigger. He sold it and we understand. Why did he do all this? Because when they were in Skopje in the events that happened in the film, all of them died because of the explosion that occurred. And he decided that they would not choose for themselves because he would naturally not guide them. So he decided to let them fall into each other. Zemo surrenders to the authorities and Captain America tells him that they will be there if any danger occurs. He promises to help him no matter what, leaving him immobile to stay in touch. This coincides with Captain America going to prison to free his imprisoned team. In the final scene, Bucky travels to Wakanda with Black Panther and enters cryogenic sleep until their next encounter. What's happening to him is just a tip of the iceberg of the story. Remember to subscribe, like, share, and follow me on Instagram. Also, follow Kareem, Sam, the video editor, Ahmed, and Sam, the script writer. Stay tuned for more content on this channel, and we will sleep peacefully.
On you, in the Legends of Kung Fu, band boom 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 boom. He started in a poor neighborhood, worked in a small restaurant by voice. One day he became famous. Boom shack boom kung fu panda boom bo doom boom doom boom boom bo doom boom.